And good morning. Welcome. Promises kept with a Tuesday edition of Things You Might Not Have Heard. I am Jacob Payne, and I'll present to you in a moment yesterday's latest in information, politics, current events, and pop culture to get your day started off with great things to talk about that you guys actually had a hand in telling me what to talk about. And so we, as your supplemental source, your go-to for supplemental news, for both mainstream stuff, the big stuff, and some unconventional news that slips through the cracks. As the teaser graphic shows, we're going to talk to Sophie Turner plus 7 other news stories from the past day that, of course, were vetted for conversation by you and then curated by me as top stories. So explain how all that works out after we go through the main headlines and give us about 10, 12 minutes to go through everything in a bit. So for more information about how that works out and how you can be a part of the show, we'll explain that. And for more information about the actual show and the things that we do behind the scenes for the Conversation Project, the whole big shebang, check us out at our main website. This is theconversationproject.com. More great things to come, including coming up right now, the main news stories. 8 of the top stories, most conversational, as dubbed by you over the past 24 hours or so. So let's get into this, past 30 hours or so, I should say. Let's start off with the actual thing. Today is, of course, Tuesday, May the 2nd, 2023. Getting back to the swing of things, though sometimes the buttons don't quite work where they are. Let's get to story number one. I-55 Illinois crash. Over 30 injured, multiple fatalities in collision during dust storm, highway closed downstate. A catastrophic multiple vehicle crash occurred on Interstate 55 in Illinois, resulting in multiple fatalities and over 30 injuries. The Illinois State Police troopers 6 and 8 responders to the incident, which took place north of Farmerville in Montgomery County. The crash was triggered by a dust storm, significantly reducing visibility and leading to tragic pileup. The severity of the incident forced authorities to shut down the highway downstate. The exact number of fatalities was not even specified, and the extent of the injuries ranged from among the victims. For the details about this, at the link for the website. So click the link for this story to go deeper into what's going on. The investigators are ongoing as always work to determine the full scope of the incident and specific contribution factors. Saw a bit of this in the news this morning. They are still cleaning up pilage and rubble and cars from the big crash. You can see that on the pictures going on one day past. Sophie Turner, as we promised, is the next story. Sophie Turner advocates for her kids' privacy after accidentally posting daughter on Instagram. The Game of Thrones actress recently advocated for her children's privacy after accidentally posting a picture of her daughter on Instagram. Turner is married to Joe Jonas, the Jonas Brothers, and they are parents to 2 daughters. The details about the specific incident, which photo was mistakenly posted, was not mentioned in search results. Oddly enough. However, it's clear that Turner and Jonas have consistently strived to maintain their children's privacy since their births, aligning them with the overall approach to their family life. Turner's advocacy for children's privacy likely emphasizes the importance of protecting young children from public exposures, particularly in the age of social media. Further details about this from the actual article. Check it out for more to get into it. Next story, Hunter Biden. We're talking Hunter Biden, but not his laptop specifically, but actually a paternity case that happened here in Arkansas. Hunter Biden, the son of President Joe Biden, has been ordered to appear in person for a hearing related to a paternity case in Arkansas. The case pertains to a 4-year-old girl whom Biden has previously disputed being the father due to not having any recollections of the encounter with the child's mother. Not exactly a great way to start a father. He has mentioned this in his memoir and has previously noted that the encounter occurred during a period of personal struggle. However, this whole this whole trial started, and basically he was told to tell more about his finances because it's a paternity case. He supposedly is the father of this child, so he has to talk more about his dealings with his finances, what he does, his art collections, things that he sells, because he apparently owes a good chunk of money to this young lady as her father, even though he doesn't quite remember what happened. Our next story for the morning. JP Morgan to buy First Republic's assets and assume deposits. JP Morgan Chase and Company is set to acquire the assets and assume the deposits of First Republic, according to the report. The specifics of the deal, including the reasons for First Republic's decision to sell its assets and financial implications for both banks, are likely outlined in what you can read deeper into the story. The development comes after JP Morgan's financial performance was impacted with the reported 28% fall in quarterly profits and a suspension of shares buybacks. The acquisition of First Republic's assets could be part of the bank's strategy to strengthen the financial position and expand its operations. Obviously, it didn't quite work out as it was basically going down. As we talked about yesterday, essentially, First Republic was given basically 90 days to live, a good chunk of money as a loan from other banks, including Citibank and Bank of America, to kind of figure out what's going on. They didn't have to figure it out because the Feds decided they were going to seize the assets and sell it for a pretty good price. And that price was paid by JP Morgan Chase and Company. Those branches, as of this morning, are now JP Morgan branches. Very quick one, very interesting one you might want to read on to get more details from. Erika Bryan, known as Erika Castillo on KFOX TV in Texas, where she serves as a primetime news anchor, was reportedly arrested and released by the El Paso Police Department. She has been charged in relation to an incident where she allegedly drove onto a man's lawn and demanded money. Yes, for more details, click the link. It's a story you might want to get into. With all the craziness going on in this day, this is one that might actually put a smile on your face. This one will put a smile on your face, or maybe other sort of emotions in your body, as the headline reads, "Woman has full body orgasm during LA Philharmonic concert." Philharmonic, that being. Good for Phil. One woman experienced a loud and full body orgasm during the second movement of the LA Philharmonic's performance of Tchaikovsky's Fifth Symphony. Several concertgoers described the woman's climactic moment from the balcony at the packed Walt Disney Concert Hall. Some social media users expressed doubts about the incident, but they insisted, people from the theater insisted it absolutely happened, and that 8 other of the friends had similar conclusions, this being the woman. And journalist Jocelyn Silver wrote on Twitter that the woman had a screaming orgasm and the orchestra stopped playing, but the classical pianist Sharon Sue confirmed the incident. Yeah, that will put a smile on your face, or other sort of emotions in your body, pun intended. Let's move on to something a bit more serious. Teased yesterday, and the payoff is here, as you guys chose this to be one of the conversational stories to talk about this morning. The headline reads, "Investors sue Adidas over Kanye West Yeezy deal." Investors have filed a class action lawsuit against Adidas, alleging executives knew about Yeezy's problematic behavior for years before cutting his ties with the rapper. We all knew about Yeezy's problematic behavior for years before we all cut our ties with the rapper. That's a whole nother story on its own. Hydration break. Sorry about that. Still getting back into the whole swing of this thing. Company failed to take preliminary measures to limit negative exposure, according to the suit. Adidas announced its partnership with Kanye West in 2013, and the first Yeezys debuted in 2015. The shoes surged in popularity, but the company expects to lose $1.3 billion this year as of dropping all ties from the Nazi sympathizer, that being Kanye, or Yeezy. Meanwhile, the dead are getting their respect on Twitter. No one else maybe is, but Michael Jackson, Anthony Bourdain, and Hugo Chavez are among the dead who are seeing their blue Twitter check marks restored. Twitter restored blue check marks symbols to accounts of several dead celebrities, as we said, including the 3 we just mentioned there over the weekend. Neil Gaiman denied using Twitter Blue and giving anyone his phone number, and Ian McKellar denied paying for the blue check marks. Those are people, the famous folks who, actually are still alive. Meanwhile, dead people are getting them back. Now, the hubbub was a lot of famous folks were losing check marks or not paying for them and seeing the consequences of not being verified, if that means anything. A lot of people, of course, have left the site because of the craziness that Elon Musk has done to basically thumb his nose at the world, because he's a billionaire, and just kind of make things life miserable for just people in general. We will see who gets their checks back, who doesn't get their checks back, and how many dead people who we're pretty sure we didn't pay to get their checks back get those blue checks back on the site. Let's go to our teaser story for today. This is a story that we could talk about tomorrow if you say this one's worthy of the chit chat for, and it's pretty simple to make that happen. You just go to our feeds on Facebook and Twitter. This is part where we explain that part here, and engage in the stories. Facebook.com/this is a conversation and Twitter.com/th_conversation. Of course, I'm sorry, Facebook.com/this is a conversation project and Twitter.com/th_conversation, and just engage in the story. This story happened officially at midnight, I guess, Eastern time, and now it's going on. Hollywood's writers slamming gig economy go on strike. What you're going to see starting probably tonight is reruns of the late night talk shows as the writers write those things in real time. What you're going to see if you still watch daytime dramas, wherever they are, because most of them have gone to streaming and whatnot, is those go to reruns pretty soon. And what you're going to see coming soon as they start working on, finalizing some of the shows for this year, although the season's essentially over in some cases, and producing things for the summer seasons, a shortage of stuff. The last time they had a big one like this was about 15 years ago. The big deal was just literally money and time. Now they're not getting enough money because most of the residuals that come from reruns don't exist anymore, as many things are no longer being replayed on network television. They're just put on a streaming service for all to see, and that money doesn't come in residuals. Those weren't written into contracts who get residuals for those. We shall see how this one plays out going forward in the works. Now, let's talk about not only the Twitter stuff or the stuff for our feeds and getting us in there, but also helping us out by checking out our sponsors. Today's main sponsor, today's title sponsor is Grammarly. You can go to thisisaconversationproject.com/sponsors and see many of our sponsors reviews for our title sponsors here in this show and across the platform for the Conversation Project. But today we're talking about Grammarly, as Grammarly helps me do things like talk pretty sometimes, and sometimes not as pretty because reading is fundamental. But Grammarly is a app, it's a website, it's got all the AI powered stuff going on to help you write things going on. And Grammarly's been doing it for quite some time, a long time. And yes, there is a bit of some AI mixed into the thing as it reads your stuff, but it's a spell checker like none other. Yes, you have your spell checkers built into your standard word processors. Word has it, all that good stuff. But Grammarly checks for grammar, checks for spelling, checks for plagiarism, checks for tense, and will help you rewrite things that sound like a actual intelligent human may have written them, as opposed to if you see some of my early scripts, some dude like me. So check it out. It's worth the price to get into. If you're in school right now and writing a lot of papers, you will like to have this to check out your work. If you're just a general writer and trying to figure out how to write better, it's there for you. If you are trying to write that novel that you've been working on for forever and are having some issues sort of making the language work, Grammarly will help you out. Check it out at thisitsaconversationproject.com/Grammarly. This is conversationproject.com/GRAMMARLY. That's Grammarly. This is an affiliate link, so we get paid if you choose to use this. So we're giving you a chance to check it out, and we want you to check it out because we think this will be the next best thing in your arsenal for getting work done. Now, the Conversation Project, which we've been talking about the whole time we've been here because this is from the Conversation Project, is homed at thisisAconversationproject.com. And you can find more details about all things, including the sponsors we talked about, our partnerships page as well, and just some of the back details of things going on. Also, back issues of the newsletter, which is posted in the blog function there. And you can subscribe to the newsletter to get you this stuff in non-talking form and non-face form in a newsletter every single morning, about 6:50 every single morning, to just read the stories, click through it, get to the links, and get some of the major stuff. We do not give you the one more thing because we got to save something for this stuff. But you can get all the great things from most of the stuff, the good stuff, the easy stuff, for free, or for the price of your partnership or your commitment to a sponsor, if you like to. But it's for free. We do our best, and it's a labor of love, as we say, but it's a labor that's working out there. We're going to, as we rebuild our infrastructure, we're going to bring in the new crew that I promised to bring in a month ago and get some more things going behind the scenes happening to make things cleared up. Hopefully you're enjoying what we're doing. If you're not enjoying it, let me know, and we'll work on that as well. But find us and talk to us, do all great things at our website, This is a conversationproject.com. Now it's time to have some fun. May 2nd is the day, and on this day, second day of May, we start off with birthdays. You might not have heard these folks had birthdays who were born this day or having birthdays in the moment. Maybe they're afternoon babies and they're having birthdays later. It all works out in the wash. Let's start off with Mika Brzezinski. She is turning 56 years old today. She is the glue that holds the Morning Joe together in more ways than one. We're going to just leave it at that. Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, turning 51 years old on the day. Still hoping to get a chance to work with him in some projects. He, of course, has to actually know I exist first. Working on that part first. And Jenna Von Oy, one of my childhood crushes back in the day of Blossom and, of course, the Parkers, turning 46 years old today. Not on the soon-to-be ex-wives list because I think we've gone past that. But Jenna Von Oy, known from plenty of great stuff, still doing some stuff behind the scenes as well, is 46 years old on today. Today in history, starting off in 1939. Not hitting well and feeling bad, Iron Man Lou Gehrig took himself out of the Yankees lineup after playing 2,130 consecutive games. The Yankees destroyed Detroit that day, 22-2, even without Gehrig. And, of course, that was the last time Lou Gehrig actually played baseball. In the year 2000, Bill Clinton, the president, then announced the accurate GPS access would no longer be restricted to U.S. military. Back when this was built for the military to basically target enemies, Bill Clinton opened it up to the world and to other commercial venues, which is now why we have things like, this thing. I thought I was wearing my watch. GPS watches and phone stuff and track people on things like that. And in 2007, a bunch of 20s and O's, Iowa spent $6,000 to change the locks at one of its state prisons after someone paid $12 on eBay for a set of keys belonging to a guard who retired in the 70s. 2007, they changed the locks because someone in keys in the 70s got sold. The wardens say they did not even know if any of the old keys actually opened any locks of the 135-year-old prison. However, they didn't want to take any chances, and so they just changed every single lock in the prison to make sure, in the state prison system, every single lock, just to make sure no one could take those keys and do anything dastardly with them. Let's have a celebration on the day. We're going to celebrate on this May 2nd, World Tuna Day. Because tuna was the simplest thing to think of on the day. Everybody has some semblance of dealing with tuna, whether it's the big old fish, that you eating in chunks at the fancy restaurants, or the can of tuna fish, because we call it tuna fish, that you get that you mix up a little mayonnaise, a little mustard, some salt and pepper, and just have a nice tasty sub on it. Melt some cheese on it as well. World Tuna Day is a day for celebration, and we're going to celebrate it on this May 2nd. So I think tuna melts are going to be on the menu for dinner tonight. We shall see how that plays out going forward. JJ may argue with that, but we still have some leftover chicken nuggets from the weekend, so maybe that's what she's going to do. And finally, one more thing you might not have heard going out the door today. We've all goofed up and flubbed up things we've previously done time and time again. It turns out that the root of these brain farts may be a special kind of abnormal brain activity that begins up to 30 seconds before a mistake even happens. When people blunder after performing the same tasks over and over, scientists had suspected that such lapses were due to momentary hiccups in concentration. But researchers suspect this abnormal behavior is a result of the brain attempting to save effort on the task. When the brain goes too far, errors occur. So is it a slow, slight, just sort of lapse in judgment where you just sort of lose your concentration in something repetitive? All of a sudden you just kind of lose it. Or is your brain thinking, hey, I've done this a million times before. Let's try to make this a little easier. And then in the process, it sort of flips a wrong switch and you get lost. And then when you wake up from that change, you're in the middle of it. Science will tell us soon. In the meantime, I'm telling you, we're done. It's Tuesday, May the 2nd, 2023. Thank you so much for being a part of the show on the day. Thank you for being with us for things you might have heard. Go to our feeds on Facebook and Twitter, facebook.com/thisistheconversationproject and twitter.com/th_conversation, and make sure you're engaging in the story. So we have more data, which stories are actually good. Weird goof stuff going on with the Twitter and the Facebook. So getting the data in range has been a little bit weird coming back to this thing. But we are giving you about 30 hours worth of time from midnight to about 5 in the morning of the next day of stories about every 50 minutes to choose from. So hopefully you're enjoying what's there. If we're not, let us know. We'll work on more stories and more things that we're missing. And sometimes it's based on some things. The weird thing about what we do is sometimes I see a story early and I'll put it in there and it doesn't get any traction for a while. Sometimes I'll see a story and I'll wait for a headline or a news source that will gather more people to it. And then I'll use it, and that one will pick up. Or sometimes we end it too late. It goes like there. Since we're here, and since we know, I can tell you all about my last month and craziness going on. I want to remind you that if you're going through some stressful times, you need a little bit of help and someone to talk to. Call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, on your cell phone, or you can text them as well. The number is 988. Also online, 988lifeline.org. 24 hours a day, offering people to speak to you in English and Spanish, just in case you need a little bit of a helping hand. And with that, we're going to just get out of here for the day. Thank you so much for being with us here. Tried a couple new things today. We're going to see how the robot AIs are going to interact with our writing to help smooth things out. Hopefully the writing seemed a little bit better, but there must be some editing going through. The robot editors aren't perfect. They're robots. But hopefully we'll make this smoother transition, make things going. I know we went a little bit faster, a bit more pithy, so that's good. We'll work on that as well. In the meantime, love you very much. Didn't do coffee. Stay hydrated. Stay limber. Stay on task for all the great things you are here to do. Let's do this again, shall we? Tomorrow morning.